What's up, guys? Today is going to be awesome. For all you fitness buffs, you guys got to tune in. Get your notepads out, get your pencils, call your moms, your dads, your grannies. I'm telling you up front, it's going to be awesome. I have a very good friend of mine, my personal trainer, David Tatro. He's going to be joining us soon. But this dude is legit, man. He is an amazing man. He's got an incredible story. We're going to dive into all that. But at the very end, you got to stick around because he gives away pointers, whether it's your first time to ever walk into a gym or whether you've been slaying a gym for all your life. This dude's got something for all of you. So good. You got to stick around to the end to enjoy it. But all that happens right after this. Welcome back to the When Words Don't Come Easy podcast. I am Andy Howard, and it's always good to have you. This is a podcast about hope. It's a podcast about inspiration. And so today I have a very good friend of mine who has really helped me out a lot. I mean, started off as what's the word? I was going to say he was my trainer. I was going to say we didn't have a relationship as friends, but you became my friend through the process. Anyways, let me welcome David here. David Tatro, what's up, buddy?
How's it going?
Hey, I am good. Thank you for doing this, by the way. It's always good to see you, and you're going to be able to help a lot of people, one, with your story, but two, with your knowledge. So thanks so much for doing this, man.
Of course, happy to help.
Well, David is a good friend of mine. I just told you that, but he's also a trainer. I mean, he's done a lot of things, and I'll let him kind of tell more about to introduce himself here in a second. But I wanted to share this story because it always cracks me up. One, how God works, because I think sometimes he'll put you in uncomfortable situations to bring out the best in you and what's best for you. And I will never forget, man. You know what? It was 4 years ago this week, bro. It was August the 10th of 2019 that I did my first Spartan. And so about, I don't know, maybe 2 months before that, maybe 6 weeks before that, I had been training since January. And Tiff's like, I kept telling her, I just don't think I'm ready. And Tiff says, you need to get someone who knows what they're doing. You need to get a trainer. I always love my wife. That was my Tiff impression, by the way. So don't tell her I said that. But anyways, she even looked up for me. She knew how intimidated I was of gyms. She knew how intimidated I was of trainers. And so she's like, this guy looks nice. And he did. He was nothing wrong with him. Just a nice, simple dude. And I don't even remember his name, but I made the appointment that day. Was supposed to meet him, I think, at 3 o'clock. I don't even remember. Anyways, I show up. Hey, are you so and so? Yes, I am. You're Andy, right? Yes. And then all of a sudden he's like, hey, David, your guy's here. And all of a sudden David comes around the corner and it's this muscle bound dude. You can see him here, right? Got muscles in his earlobes. But you know what? Ended up being one of the nicest people. That's why you can't judge people, right? You can never judge a book by its cover. And he ended up being a friend for life. I mean that, David. So, man, thank you so much for doing this. And tell them a little bit about yourself, just kind of the background. I know you've been a part of the military. You have all kind of certifications for training, and then you've done all kind of competitions. Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and just all that kind of stuff so they can get to know you.
Awesome. Yeah. So I am originally from Kentucky. I went to high school and college there. And then I now live in Dallas, Texas, not too far from Andy. And I have been in the military since 2009, so roughly 14 years. I did have about a year break where I got out and then got back in. I was stationed in Oklahoma for 9 years, and then now I'm stationed in Colorado Springs. And I've been everywhere with the military. I've been to England, Italy. I've been to France. Recently, I just got back from Korea. So I was in South Korea.
Wow.
And then a lot of places in the States like Hawaii and California, Louisiana, Mississippi, been everywhere. So in the military, I'm a civil engineer. So I do anything from the ground up that has to do with a building or structure. That's my job. And then during war times, hopefully we don't see that anytime soon, then my job is to repair the runway if it is ever bombed. And so
Wow.
my job is to expediently go out on the runway, fill craters, make sure that planes can take off so that we have air support.
Wow, that's very cool. I've never even known that about you. We never asked that part before. Well, tell them a little bit about your fitness background as well.
Yep. So I've been training since 2012. I got an associate's degree with a school that was about 18 months long, and it was strictly personal training. And then I've had various certifications over the last 11 years. So I got my certified personal trainer through NASM. I'm certified with a TRX suspension trainer. I'm certified to train bikini and physique competitors. I have two nutrition certifications. I have a myofascial release certification, and then I've had some continuing educations that for training kids and teenagers and athletes and stuff like that. So I try to stay educated, keep myself
Yeah.
learning, make sure that I keep growing.
Man, I love that, bro. And the reason why I asked you to do that is because I want anyone who hasn't met you before, I want them to have a little bit of knowledge knowing. So this guy knows what he's talking about. In other words, I could have just saved us some time and said, hey, listen, David knows
Yeah.
what he's talking about. But I wanted you to know that. So, hey, thanks for sharing that. There's something that always resonated with me when working out with you, when training with you. There was a phrase that is kind of became a motto for me. And I don't know how long you've been using it, but it's just an amazing motto, but it's control the negative. And I would love for you, one, to explain what that means as far as in fitness. I
Mhm.
mean, it's phenomenal. It means more than just, okay, focus, right? And take your time with it. It's actually where you're building the muscle. I'll let you explain all that. But then take it a step further. I mean, you can use that in life, right?
Yeah, I've been using it for a while, probably since I started working in training. And it was something that I realized was very relatable, whether it was fitness or it was my day-to-day life. And so in fitness, controlling the negative is a big part of hypertrophy training. So when you're doing any sort of exercises, you want to make sure that you control the descent of the weight or the negative or the eccentric phase of the weight. So controlling that allows you to one, prevent injury, but two, also allows you to transfer energy back and execute the last part of that exercise. But also in life, I use that because a lot of times in my life, I've really tried to focus on the positive and not the negative. Anytime something's ever happened, anytime I'm dealing with a problem, I really just try to remind myself to control the negative thoughts, control the negative situation, and make the best of it.
It's so good, man. And I have applied it as well. And it's true. You can't always control what happens to you. Stuff's going to happen, right? Life's going to happen, but you do get to control how you respond. And that's just huge. So thanks for sharing that. The other one that you would always share, and I love this one as well, but you would always say, one day doesn't make you and one day doesn't break you. Explain that one as well.
A lot of times in the fitness world, you see people that are dealing with struggles or stress, or they're having a hard time with self accountability or just anything. So usually it comes to like nutrition or getting your steps in or your cardio or, just making sure that you're getting your workouts in. And so a lot of times people will defeat themselves, beat themselves up about missing a day of cardio or missing a workout or not being 100% to their diet or their nutrition plan. And so typically when someone fails at one day, they let it affect the rest of their days. It becomes a week and then it becomes a month.
It's
And
good.
so I really try to preach, don't let one day affect you. So one day won't make you and one day won't break you. So one day is not going to get you to your goal. It's one day at a time, but that you're not going to achieve your goal in one day and you're not going to, break your goal in one day. Or,
It's so true, man. Anyone who's ever tried something, you've been there before. Maybe not David. You can see his results. But for the rest of us normal people, like you go work out and then you're kind of looking in the mirror and you're like, I see nothing. It's because one day will not make it. It is about the consistency over long-term efforts and following. a mentor, someone with a plan. I love that. Well, over the course of working out with you, just, I mean, you can only talk about lifting weights for so long. So then we start digging into our past and our history. And I always wonder, what pushed you to become the David Tatro that I see. And a lot of you see this guy, he's got it all together. He's got this perfect body, right? I don't remember. Didn't you say you're 230 pounds? Is that
Now I'm not.
not anymore?
I got up to 216 was the most I've been.
Okay.
I'm barely 5'8".
Well, I was
But now
gonna say on a small body, I was gonna say, well, anyways, he's very thick, right? And not fat at all. Gosh, what are you, 10% body fat, I'm guessing?
I'm probably 10-12%. Yes.
So, anyways, it's just a big muscle bound man. So don't think 230 pounds and think, oh, was he calling him fat? Not at all. But anyways, this massive dude, and I said, well, how does he get to this mountain of a man? And behind every success, there's always a story. And so David has a phenomenal story. And I asked him if he'd be willing to just share how he got here.
Yeah. So, I wasn't always in the gym. A lot of people perceive me now as this very confident person, very successful. I can talk to anyone. I can pretty much relate or get along with anyone. And I love helping everyone. So before the gym, before all that, I actually moved around a lot growing up. So I lived in a split parent family. So, I grew up moving around with my mom. So she was a single mom. And, you know, with that, we moved quite a bit depending on what her decisions were, who she was with at the time, where our family was. And so I think I counted the other day that I think we moved around all the way up until my eighth grade year. We had probably lived in about 10, 11 states.
Wow.
So that made it very difficult for me, made it difficult for me to establish myself, to really get my bearing and be comfortable wherever I was. And so that was one adversity that I was dealing with. And then another thing as a child was, I clearly am a little bit darker complected. I'm Filipino. And so a lot of the times when we moved into new schools, I look different. And
Yeah.
so I dealt with a lot of bullying because of that. I dealt with name calling and just not fitting in. And so, not fitting in also was, related to me not being in a school for more than a year. And then the third adversity that I dealt with was in kindergarten. I grew up on a lot of bases, Air Force bases, the first 5, 6 years of my life. And so when I went out into public school, I was a little bit smarter than the public school systems required for certain grades. And so I was only in kindergarten for maybe 2 months before they decided to push me to first grade. And so once they pushed me to first grade, I was a year younger than everybody in that grade. And then I was also smaller and behind when it came to growing and
Yeah.
maturing. So that was the third adversity I dealt with. So I was getting bullied because I was small, because I didn't fit in, because I looked different, because I was younger. And that made it very, very tough for me growing up, especially once I did find one or two friends at a school that I was at, we would pick up and move again. And so I became, a very troubled child. I would do things that I would have never done to lash out. I was always in trouble in school,
Hmm.
talked all the time. I, would get mad at people. I would steal just to get attention. I was just doing a lot of things. And so finally, when I moved to Kentucky and I started my eighth grade year there, and we were somewhat established, then I really want to have some sort of
Yeah.
a stable life. And so I stayed in Kentucky my freshman, sophomore year. I started playing sports. And then even in sports, I was bullied because, again, I was a year younger than everybody and smaller than everybody. So I was behind. I was weaker than everybody. I remember one time I went to weightlifting for basketball practice and I could barely lift the bar. And I was probably 16 years old and I couldn't even lift a bar off my chest. And not only that, but I was also very short. I didn't hit my growth spurt until I was probably halfway through junior year. And so that made it very difficult for me to play sports. And so that was another way I didn't fit in. And so then finally, my senior year was when everything kind of turned around. I had a couple jobs, but I started working at a gym, and I started working out, and I loved the way it made me feel. And so then I ran track in high school, and I loved that as well. And I ended up putting myself into college. I was on a full ride track scholarship my freshman year of college. And then I gained some weight. So I graduated high school about 135, 140 pounds, which was a big deal for me because
Yeah.
I was probably average 120
Wow.
and before that. So then once I started to lift weights, when I started running track in college, that's all I did. I lifted weights. I ate a bunch of food. The freshman 15, I was more like a freshman 30. Um, and then I started to feel more confident in
Yeah.
myself. I started to feel confident in the things that I could achieve. And I started to push myself outside of my comfort zone. And so that's what pushed me into joining the military. I was actually very scared to join the military because, again, I was bullied. I didn't fit in. And so I felt like it was a challenge for me. So I joined the Air Force 2009, and then it continued from there. And so then I started lifting. I started getting stronger. I started getting bigger. I started competing in competitions because that was another fear of mine, was getting on stage. And through all of that, I started to become very confident in myself. And I realized that a lot of the people around me that I was surrounding myself by were motivated by me. They were motivated by how strong I was or how I looked or the things that I've overcome. And so I would try to help them do something that they were passionate about. And that's when I, wanted to become a trainer because I was really enjoying helping people kind of overcome their adversity, their fears, and help them achieve a goal that they didn't think was ever obtainable.
Mm.
Um, and also give them a little bit of confidence back so that they could go out in the world and, make it a better place and be confident in who they are.
Man, it's a fascinating story. Unfortunately, today, bullying is a big problem. I mean, you hear about it a lot. In fact, you hear about a lot of suicides happen. Find out later where that kid was getting picked on a lot or he's getting bullied a lot and didn't have any friends, didn't have any hope in his opinion, didn't or their opinion, couldn't find hope. And so they end up just quitting. What would you advise someone who, I don't know if per se I have any kids who are listening right now, but maybe it's parents who have a kiddo who's getting bullied. What kind of hope can you offer them?
The biggest thing I would suggest is, one, supporting them. They're going to lash out or they're going to have emotional outbursts or they're going to deal with things a certain way when it comes to bullying,
Yeah.
whether they're the bully or they are being bullied. So address the situation and give them an outlet. Let them, teach them to go work out or take them to a gym and join a group class or something so that they become more confident because whether they're underweight or overweight, or they're not very strong, or they're small, like working out will give them that confidence that they need in order to be able to persevere through, school, through careers, through life, whatever they decide to do. That's the biggest thing is just push them to be better and to work out because your health and the success of your health directly contributes to how healthy your mind is,
So
right?
true, man.
And
Yeah.
so if you're not healthy, your mind's not going to be healthy either.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest step. And then the second thing is just be very mindful and take ownership of how you as a parent have conversations with your child. I've seen a lot of parents and been in a lot of households and, some parents kind of like a banter with their kids and they kind of joke around about stuff. But make sure that your kid doesn't take what you say to them as bullying, because if a child feels bullied, then they will go to school and they will bully.
Mm.
Or if a child doesn't have confidence, then he's going to go to school with no confidence.
Well,
So you have to give your kids confidence. You have to empower them to be their own person and to feel like the decisions that they make will amount to something for them. And that, yes, you do want to grow and raise them a specific way, but you just have to be very careful how you do that, what you say to them, and just have an open conversation, open dialogue with your kids, because they'll tell you exactly how they
Yeah.
feel as long as you accept it and you listen to it and you talk to them and you educate them, then there shouldn't be any issues.
And I agree with, man, all that. You're spitting truth, man. Communication is so huge. And then what you were talking about with the mind, it controls so much of it. And even with your own story, you kept saying you kept finding these little wins. What it would do, these little wins would build more confidence. And I think the confidence factor is huge. So find something. I love fitness now. That's become part of my life, but it doesn't have to necessarily be that you become a bodybuilder
Oh,
per se, but what is something they can find to pour their heart into, pour their mind into, and get good at and get wins and collect that confidence with and collect friends. Usually you could still get bullied somewhere else as well. But usually if you're all going to wherever it is to learn something, it's whether it's a volleyball team or it's a cheer or it's who knows what it is. If you're pulling together on a team, you're going to find some friends. And I think friendship helps, community helps a lot as well. So that would be the other part I would add on to it. I mean, that's
yeah.
so good, bro. I remember the reason I reached out to you in the first place, or Tiff made me reach out to you. I would go to the gym. So this is my question for you as a trainer. What is something for someone who's brand new? Maybe they've never been to a gym and they don't even know what to do. What would be some advice for a brand new person? Because here's where I've learned so much from you. So this is just my 2 cents. So I would show up and my workouts meant whatever machine was open. I had no concept of what you taught me of push and pulls on in biceps and chest and leg days and all the different days. I had no concept of that. I was like, oh, that machine's open. I'm going to do this today until I saw something else. And I didn't have any concept of reps or anything. So, what would be the first bit of advice if someone's thinking, I want to get into the gym, I want to help with fitness? Where should they start?
I think the first thing that they should do is, if they're going to go to the gym and it's their first time, if they're going to go by themselves, maybe bring a friend. One, because a lot of times most people who are new to the gym, the reason why they're motivated to get the gym, unless it's a factor that's health wise, usually it's because they've seen someone or they know someone that works out and they look up to that person. And so, go to the gym with a friend, someone who already goes to the gym, because they're going to already know a little bit and they're going to be able to make you more comfortable in a
Dude,
lot of exercises.
one, I don't want to interrupt you, but that is genius because one, we just talked about the confidence, right? When you have a friend, you don't feel as bad. You're still the new one, but yet you still have a friend to lean on. So that little bit of confidence is there just by having a friend. Love that. What's next, man?
The second thing I would say is most gyms are pretty good about offering classes. They're usually offering classes or intro sessions with a trainer, or a group fitness class, or even some gyms have like a new member consultation. And a lot of those that the gyms offer will allow you a chance to learn a little bit, to ask questions. Maybe someone shows you around and shows you how to use some of the equipment. And then the classes are great because they're going to push you to do things that you probably won't do on your own. And you'll learn a couple things
Yeah.
about yourself and about some of the workouts. I'd say go that route first and find a gym that does that, because there are some gyms that will say they offer a free consultation. At the end of the day, they want your
I just
money.
want your
Yeah.
money. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to take advantage of everything that's included in your membership. And then also, don't be afraid to try other trainers out or other classes out as well. One trainer may not be the best fit for you. Usually you'll know within the first 30 minutes that whether you click with that trainer or not, and that's someone that can teach you and, you can build a relationship with. But if not, then request to do a consultation with another trainer. That's the biggest things. There's gyms like Planet Fitness that actually offers like a 30-minute workout ran by a trainer there.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to start because it doesn't cost you anything. And then once you feel like you kind of know what you're doing, you've achieved everything that you want at a smaller gym like that, then branch out and go to a bigger gym that might make you a little bit more uncomfortable, but in the end will allow you to grow.
There's so much truth to that, man. I remember. So I would like to say I knew within 30 minutes that I was going to stay with you forever, but I couldn't remember nothing of that first workout. You had me like I was laying down, almost passed out. I do remember that part. It was very intense.
Either the box jumps or the ball slams.
Both. Both. But anyways, but seriously, no, I enjoyed every minute of it. I mean, it wasn't always easy, but I enjoyed working out with you. You would always tell me why we did everything. That's what I loved. I learned so much from you. And you're right that the confidence comes. I hated gyms. People saw me today. They would not even believe the 4 years ago, Andy, because that was my first time, believe it or not, David. I'd never really worked out before in my life. So most people don't turn over a new leaf at 40. For some reason, I turned 40. I'm like, now it's time to go to the gym. Who knows why? Well, the confidence comes with staying consistent and getting comfortable and doing the hard things until it becomes new. And then, well, when I'm not working out here at home, it's a place where like these big old massive bodybuilder type dudes that David introduced me to. I'm like, I don't know that I belong here, dude. But it's true. When you push yourself, you get into new circles, you get into new atmospheres, and then you start feeling like, you know what, I do belong here because it's confidence. And I love that, David. So my next question is, I have a lot of fitness people who watch this podcast. For those maybe they're a little more experienced, let's say, can you give a tip or two for someone who's looking to even level up their health?
I think if you've already been doing fitness for a long time, or I mean, just a couple of years, and you've achieved some goals that you wanted to achieve, and now you're just kind of hitting a plateau or a place where you just feel like your wheels are turning, but you're not going anywhere. Find someone who is better than you.
Yeah.
Find someone who has achieved something that you want to achieve. And whether it's a trainer and you pay them, or it's a friend or a mentor, always surround yourself by people who are going to force you to grow, people who are achieving more than you and doing better than you, because they've already done it and they already have a plan and they already know how to get there. And they can shorten the time that it's going to take you to achieve that same goal. But a lot of times, we have a hard time setting aside our pride
Mm.
and asking someone to help us. So the biggest advice I can give is just, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, that is so good, bro. I say that all the time. If you're the best person in the room, it's time for a new room. And I mean that. That's why it worked out so good that you ended up being my trainer. I'm nothing against the poor fella. If he ever saw this episode, whoever he was, it wasn't him. It wasn't his fault, but I felt very comfortable with him. I felt better than him. Let me just put it that way. I felt better than him. He was a little skinny guy. Maybe he did a lot of cardio. He was probably in shape there, but I felt better than him. But then I saw David and it scared me. You need to find someone who scares you. But and it wasn't anything he did. It wasn't his fault. It was me. It was my own insecurities. But find someone better than you. That's such great advice because it always pushes you. It always raises you to be better. You will always set the bar at whoever your friends are. If your friends are way down here and you're comfortable, you're going to stay comfortable. So I love that. Man, this has been so fun. I appreciate you so much, man. One, being vulnerable, sharing your story. But how can people find you, David? I know you have social media. Tell them how they can connect there, or do you have an email or a website for those who may be looking for some info on your training or anything like that? How can they connect with you?
Instagram is the best place to usually contact me, and my IG handle is muscleologist. So it's something that I created when I first started training because it was catchy. It caught on, and now I'm hoping no one steals it. So it's MUSCLEOLOGIST. That's my Instagram, and then email is 24fitnesscpt@gmail.com. That's pretty it. Other than that, or if you can't get me through those, then you can
I
always
can
reach.
send them your way.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Hey, man, what's funny is ology, like psychology or any of these classes that have ology, is the study of. And so, what would just be? Would that be like you're the teacher of muscle? I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm trying to break down the word.
Yeah. Yeah. So like muscleologist would be like the professional or the teacher of building muscle.
That's what I would think. I know that ology would be like the study of muscle. So you're like the professor of muscle. That's what your new nickname is, the professor of muscle. I'm just gonna next time I see you, that's what I'll call you. David, man, thank
Hopefully that doesn't make people have a high standard of me.
Oh man. Well, hey, it fits, bro. It fits. But hey, I appreciate you jumping on here. And for those who don't know David, I'm sure you've heard his heart throughout this 30 minutes or so. Dude couldn't be any nicer of a human being. He'll push you and he's gonna work you hard. He can make you sweat. Don't get me wrong. But he couldn't be any of a nicer guy. So hey, thanks for doing this. And it's always good catching up with you, buddy.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. That was absolutely incredible. Love that dude so much and so grateful for his time. I hope you got something out of that. There was so much to be had, whether it was just from his upbringing, the stuff he went through from being bullied. I hope you'll think about that the next time you're giving someone a hard time. It's okay to joke. I'm not the guy that says don't have fun, don't have a good time. You just be super nice to everybody all the time. I know some of my best buds, we give each other grief, put it that way, a lot. But there is a difference between bullying and making someone feel miserable or even suicidal. And so I hope his story will ring with you. And then just so much good stuff. Look at where he came from being the little kid. It's almost like the engine that could, right? Is that the right story? The engine that could. Uh, he was picked on, he was bullied, he was 120 pounds soaking wet at one point, and now he's this beast. So don't ever give up. Don't ever quit on your dreams. So incredible. And I talk about him so many times in the book. So I feel like that's a great plug. If you haven't got the book yet, you need to read about my friend David in the book. When Words Don't Come Easy, you can get it at andyhoward.com. You can get it from Amazon, even Kindle. I'll read it for you. If you will get it at Audible, I will read it for you. And we can just spend about 5.5 hours together. So you definitely got to do that. My last ask for you today is that you will leave a 5-star rating on whether it's Amazon or whether it's this podcast. We're trying to find 100 people who will leave ratings. If you want to leave it a 3, it's okay. You can keep your rating. And I am being serious. I'm kind of kidding. I'm kind of not. But I need your ratings. One, it helps people find the book. The whole reason I wrote the book was so people could find it for hope. So I want to give a little good. I want to give a little hope out there, and more people find it and see it when you leave a rating. So please do that for me today. Same with this podcast. Hope it's been a blessing for you. Please share it. Please subscribe and also leave a 5-star rating. Love you guys so much. See you next time.